Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Grace Leung, spelled Leung. And Grace is a digital growth consultant who helps marketers grow organically with AI strategies. Her community and newsletter is for marketers and entrepreneurs who want to strategically grow their businesses with AI. And you can find her on YouTube at Grace, Leungyl. Grace, welcome to the show. How you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Michael.
I'm super excited that you're here. Today, Grace and I are going to explore how to combine different AI platforms and tools to get better results. Now, before we go there, I want to hear your story. How did you get into AI? Start wherever you want to start.
Yes. I started my career in this field back when I was in Asia. I've been in the digital marketing field for over 10 years. Until 3 years ago, I moved to Canada with my family. And then since I moved here, I joined a SaaS company and then leading the growth marketing programs for the new product. And then that time I still remember, 2022, late 2022, when ChatGPT first came out. And then I still remember a day, my colleague shared ChatGPT through Slack. Okay, try this. Please try this. It's so amazing. And then, okay, let's try it. Oh, my mind was blown because it's so powerful, right? Because you can just ask anything to ChatGPT and again, it will give you a response. So that time I already see, there's a huge potential how this thing will change how we do marketing. And so I started experimenting more and more, maybe like drafting social media posts, like creating ideas, brainstorming ideas, or even maybe comes up some persona details for our campaign, add copies. And then I just tried more and more. So I think this is a real game changer. And I think AI has been in the industry, in the marketing industry for a long time, right? Like Google, Facebook has been using AI to do ad targeting, recommending the ads. But however, I think ChatGPT was so powerful is that it's become so accessible. Mm-hmm. It makes AI so accessible. It's not just about certain group of people, not just data scientists, but also non-technicals like me as marketers to everyone. And so I think, although now looking back, it may feel very basic, but that time, imagine, right? As marketers, we need to do research ourselves. We need to prepare the copies, ideas. So I think the transformation impact was so huge.
So bring us up to the present with your story. So what are you doing now? You're still working for that company or have you gone out on your own? What are you doing today?
Yeah. So to continue that story, I think at the same time, I started my YouTube channel because I think, okay, I just started as a passion project. I just think, okay, maybe in this new chapter of my life, I want to try something new. So I just start to share whatever I know about digital marketing. And then I also start using AI because I found this is super powerful. And that time, more AI tools came out. Like I still remember those days, maybe content creation tools like Copy.ai, Jasper, Sonic. And then I started doing more reviews and then Perplexity came out and then Gemini and then Claude. So it's like you just go down to the rabbit hole. What's next? And then you keep sharing on YouTube. And then until I pivot from the corporate to now as an independent growth consultant, I use AI more and more for my own business and also for my clients, because I think 2 years from now has changed a lot. It's no longer just content creation. You can do a lot with AI, strategy, charts, visualization, image generation, video generation. So the impact just is huge. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Grace, for sharing that story. So many people listening to this podcast, whether they be marketers or entrepreneurs or creators, are predominantly focused on just ChatGPT, right? Mm-hmm. Because maybe that was the first tool they started using, or it's the one that everybody uses. But why is it important for people to expand their horizons beyond just ChatGPT?
Yes, that's a good question. I think it's very natural. Most people start with ChatGPT, like myself, and then like self-taught, and then try to experiment with ChatGPT. But however, as as time goes on, as AI become more advanced, you can see that there are more AI models coming out. Like, for example, Gemini, maybe the first version, Bard, wasn't super impressive, but however, like Gemini has been catching up. And then I would say different AI models have their different uniqueness and strength because the difference, they are trained so differently. So for example, ChatGPT is a text-based model, but however, Gemini has been trained at multimodally since the very beginning. So that's why Gemini can handle text, images, audio, videos, all together at the same time as input. And it's not a problem. Or maybe Claude is trained at more focus on linguistic and also having more consideration in human tone, ethical consideration. So you can see different models will start to develop their own capabilities. I'm not saying that as marketers, you need to use different models, but however, you need to know that the strength so that you're not missing any opportunities. Maybe certain AI models is better fit for your certain tasks. So you need to be more open to test more and also maybe, test more and not just rely on those benchmarks.
Yeah. And I'm going to double down on what you said. Gemini by Google, because it's multimodal, as you said, it's got eyes, it's got ears, and it can not just read, it can hear and it can see. And that's really important. And ChatGPT is evolving in that general direction, but there is something to understanding that a model that was just trained on text is not seeing the whole world and all the context that's out there, where models that are trained to see things and understand things and listen are going to have a different perspective because they are able to do things the other models cannot. So that's kind of setting a little bit of a groundwork stage. So for those who want to expand their horizons beyond just ChatGPT, what do they need to be thinking about? Before we get into kind of some use cases here, what are some of the things that maybe they need to consider?
I think so. First is have a strategic or structured testing framework. You need to identify what are some recurring tasks for your day-to-day work, and do not start with so many different use cases. So for example, maybe your use case is about strategy work. And then you pick the recurring tasks and then you decide the prompt and then you try the same prompt on different models at the same time, because that would give you the most objective way to test the model ability. So you want to test the speed, like how fast is it responding, the accuracy, if there any bias or inaccurate information, and also the tone, right? How they present output, because I would say for some model, maybe Claude, I use Claude a lot and is always have that kind of human touch. It's always comfortable to chat with, while maybe for ChatGPT is more logical, is more subjective. And then, this is the fact. So you need to test it out and understand if this is the right tool to fit the task. And then the second step is to map out the workflow. Okay, so if I decided maybe Perplexity is better for research, then I will use Perplexity as my go-to tool to do all research tasks. Perhaps maybe in my case, I always use it for strategy work. And then I always love Claude, visual storytelling, more strategic. So I will use that as my go-to tool for doing this kind of tasks. So you need to first understand what is your recurring task and then map out your workflow and understand if any bias. And one tip I have is perhaps maybe you can just ask it some factual question. For example, let's say I just mix this up. Maybe I'm the marketing manager of Notion. And then I would ask, like, give me what you know about this brand. Like, give me the brand overview, product, messaging, everything. And then so you can compare if there any bias, if any gap between different models. And then you can also study the reasoning, the chain of thought thinkings, right? Because you can see there's some chain of thought thinkings and how different models will break the complex tasks into multiple steps, because that will also tell you a lot how different models will approach different tasks. And you can also spot, okay, if this is making sense or not. And so you can decide which one you want to use it more.
I love this. I'm going to reiterate what I heard you say. Number one, have some sort of a structured framework.
Yeah.
Identify some actual applications that you're already using internally. And once you've got a prompt, take that prompt and try it out with another tool like Gemini or Claude. And then just to notice whether or not you feel like it's giving you a response that's a better response. Maybe it's faster. Maybe it's the way it's communicating is more preferable to you. And then specifically, you said look for biases, right? And to look for biases, ask it things that you know the answer to, maybe about your brand or your business, and then see which one is more accurate. That might give you insights that might be more useful. And then, of course, map it into some sort of a workflow, right? So once you begin to identify like, okay, this one here seems to be better for X. Like I'll say for my own case, I use Claude nearly exclusively for writing persuasive content, you know, and I use ChatGPT to come up with very simple ideas. And I know that ChatGPT is good for coming up with ideas. Also, I'm working on a survey and I use Claude to help critically analyze the survey. And then I took it over to ChatGPT 03 and it actually found things that Claude didn't find. So I actually used both models. I used Claude for Opus and I used ChatGPT 03, which were the two most advanced models at the time of this recording for each of these. And I found that each of them found things the other did not, and it had preference differences. And I was able to go back and forth and just kind of like use both of them, and each of them had a little value that they added to the equation. But it resulted in a better list of survey questions that I would have never had if I was only using one tool, right?
Yes, I love it. Yes, so that's exactly why we need to use multiple tools, and especially when it comes to important work, strategy work, where you just want to have more diverse perspective. You just don't want to get the same response from one model. So I think this is the exact
okay, cool.
scenarios.
All right, so we come up with a couple of different use cases that we're going to talk through in detail here. And let's start with analyzing large sets of data. Now, before we explain how to do it, why don't you discuss like, what do we mean by analyzing large sets of data? Let's kind of define a little bit about what we need and what we mean and why we might do this, because some people may have never done something like this before with AI, and then we can get into the how. So let's describe what we mean by analyzing data sets, and then let's talk about how.
So data sets means it will consume a lot of tokens. Maybe it just is a large reports, have over a few hundred pages, is like consume a lot of tokens. And to give you an idea, for example, Gemini can take up around 2 million tokens, is around 1.5 million words. So it's a lot of so many words. And is in terms of tokens, it can be data sets, or it can be a report with so many pages. So here's how we define it as a like large data sets or files.
And what might we do with those large data sets and files? Like, let's just talk about the application a little bit, and then we can talk about, like how can AI assist? What would it be doing in this particular situation?
Yeah, so actually this is one of my favorite use cases, because AI is so good in analyzing patterns. It's so good in analyzing turn unstructured data into structured format. So for example, you can just copy and paste maybe YouTube comments or maybe forum reviews, my business profile reviews, and then just paste it to Gemini and then ask it, okay, help it to make it more structured, maybe present in a table so I can download it for further analysis. This is one of the ways you can do it. Another way is you can just directly ask it to give you the insights from these structured data and then help me to group by themes. What are some common themes you can see from these large data sets? So I would say this is a game changer, because most people just jump directly asking AI for recommendations. But however, AI is just so useful in finding linkage and insights from those unstructured data sets.
Okay, so we're going to talk about how to do this in just a second, but the two kind of examples we were talking about is possibly lots of files, for example, PDF files, right?
Mm.
Like you could have a whole bunch of different files, or you could have one really huge file, right? Or you could have unstructured data, like a bunch of comments, right? So you could have a whole bunch of comments that you could take off of a YouTube video, for example. Maybe there's hundreds of comments in a YouTube video, right? And that's an example of unstructured data. And you get that data somehow into Google Doc or a sheet or something like that. And then when you have all these files, right? Large files or multiple files or large amounts of data, what you said, the beauty of AI is it can help you discern insights and stuff from that. So talk to me about how we would use the different AI tools together to kind of create something powerful.
So one of the use cases is, for example, audience research, right? I believe most marketers need to do audience research. And so let's say I have so many data sets, large, maybe reviews, comments, or anything, maybe reports. You just put it to Gemini 2.5, because Gemini, the beauty is it can intake a large data set with its 1 million tokens window size. And then you can ask it to give you the data summary. So it's not necessarily the insights, but however the data summary, which means that what are some patterns you can see? What are some words or phrases that is used a lot? And then you can ask it to do some statistical summary analysis, just an initial analysis. And then you can fit this analysis back to Claude. So why I prefer Claude in this use case is because I always find that Claude is a bit more strategic, and also when it build a dashboard, it's present the story better. So I can just put this data to Claude and then ask it to generate the dashboard. Maybe like based on these analysis, come up with 2 to 3 key persona details. So what are the things you identify? What are the common pain points? And then what are the motivations? Perhaps maybe you are starting a new SaaS product. Maybe it's an email marketing product. So you have Gemini to do the analysis, and then you have Claude to define the persona for you, so that, or maybe even you can take it even further, help me to recommend some messaging that would engage with these 3 target personas based on the reviews you analyze, the theme you analyze, what matter the most to these target personas. So this is one of the most useful way in using them together. Yeah.
Okay, a couple quick things, folks. Gemini is, if you have a paid Google account, then you have gemini.google.com, and it's important. Why don't you distinguish between 2.5 Flash and 2.5 Pro, and this could change in the future, but explain which one is the better one for doing this analysis, because you know, it might be 2.6 or 3.0 by the time you listen to this in the future. But when you go into Gemini, you have typically options. Which one should they be choosing when they're doing this initial analysis inside of Gemini? The Flash or the Pro? What's your thoughts?
I would prefer Pro for all kinds of data heavy analysis. So in the case we just discussed, like audience research, I'll definitely prefer Pro. While Fresh is more about quick response. It's more lightweight. So you just want to get ideas quickly, get response, maybe drafts, use some content is good. But however, for 2.5 Pro is more about data heavy, maybe coding, maybe some other tasks that you need to do more thorough analysis. So this is how I would like pick between the two.
Okay, now when we take the output that comes from Gemini 2.5 Pro, are we just taking the output over to Claude, or are we taking the output and the original data over to Claude? I'm trying to understand like where we go, that step from from Gemini over to Claude.
I will just take the output generated from Gemini to Claude. Or maybe if you prompt Gemini, you can just let Gemini knows that, okay, these analysis, the output, I'm going to pass it to another AI to do more in-depth analysis. So it also helped the Gemini to generate more useful output. So I would just use the output generated and then pass it to Claude, and not the original data set. Because the thing is, Claude has strict usage limits and also can't handle super large data set. So that's why in this case, that's the reason why we want to use Gemini to do that like dirty work, initial analysis before we pass to Claude for more attention to details, strategic work. Yeah.
Now, Claude, I'm a heavy user of Claude just like you are, and they have Sonnet and Opus. And as of now, I believe it's 4.0. Which one do you recommend when we're doing this kind of work specifically inside of Claude? Opus or Sonnet, or do you find it doesn't matter?
I use Sonnet more, to be honest. I've also tried Opus, but I would say just from my personal experience, the token was just burned so fast.
Yeah, with Opus in particular, right?
Yes, Opus. Yeah, so that's why I believe, and also from the official guide from Claude, the recommendation is if you're doing heavy coding, website development, landing page building stuff, maybe you want to prefer using Opus. But however, maybe this kind of analysis, you can just use Sonnet. Is smart enough, and yeah.
Now, Claude, for folks that don't use Claude, has this really cool thing called artifacts. Do you recommend artifacts at all when you're using Claude? And if so, describe a little bit of how that works, because I think that's really cool, right?
Yeah, so artifact is just like a prototype that you can iterate like in different versions. So you can just ask it, okay, generate an artifact, and it's working. You can maybe build tools. So there are so many ways you can use artifact. Maybe you can build dashboard. Maybe you can just build a lightweight tool, maybe an SEO tool or a calculator. So this is just so useful. Like, and I would say this is one of the best way to use Claude. Yeah.
Well, and Claude also, artifacts will format it in a beautiful format for you too. So if you want it to be having different headers and bullets and you want it to be nicely formatted, Claude will almost look like a Google Doc. And then you can just copy and paste it. So it allows you kind of to see what it looks like before you actually, you know, like normally with these models, it's not formatted beautifully, but when you put in an artifact, it can make it look much nicer, which is I really love. Okay, so we've talked about this first application. Any other tips on moving from large sets of data, doing the initial research with Gemini, and then moving over to Claude? Is there any other little things that you've discovered? Like, for example, do we accept Gemini's first output as the truth, or do we want to modify it and tweak it a little bit, you know, when you're doing that initial analysis with Gemini?
Yeah, so I think Gemini is good for doing all those rapid prototyping, initial, just all those dirty works. And then you can just pass it to Claude, maybe to do the fine tuning. And so, for example, maybe you are building some landing pages or building tools. You can just ask Gemini to build a prototype, and then you can just pass it to Claude to refine it. Because the pain point of using Claude has always been the usage limit. So you want to always have Gemini to build the groundwork, the framework for you before you pass it to Claude. Another thing and use case I think of is because Gemini is multimodal, so you can ask it to analyze maybe videos, maybe audio, and then you can analyze it, pass it to Claude to refine it because Claude is so good at writing, doing the style guide. And so you can ask it to generate the style guide, and then you pass it back to Gemini to maybe generate the audio, because the multimodal capability of Gemini is real. Yeah.
Okay. On that note, do you recommend uploading actual audio and video files into Gemini, or do you recommend linking to videos? Which is, if you want to get audio and video into Gemini, what's the best way to get it in?
From my experience, uploading is always the best.
Okay.
You will ensure the context doesn't lose the context. But for Google AI Studio, there is native features offered that you can import the YouTube videos. So, for example, the video is already on YouTube, you can just import it so easily. Yeah, and it will do all those analysis. It's so crazy because Gemini can like detect the pause, the pacing, the structure, if you have even smile throughout the videos. So you will get a lot of really good analysis. Perhaps maybe you're doing some presentations, you want to improve that, or any other on-camera presence, you want to improve that. So you can use Gemini in this way. and then before passing to Claude. Yeah.
So we should just mention, because you mentioned AI Studio, for those that aren't familiar, aistudio.google.com is more of their like engineering technical interface. It's a little more complicated to use. I can speak from my own experience. I've had mixed results with YouTube videos. I think it depends which model you pick. I've given it videos that I published and it couldn't even read it. So I don't know if you've had success recently. I think part of it has to do with which model you pick, because in Gemini, there's a lot of different models. Is there not?
Yes, a lot. Like maybe like in June and then in May, and then so. Yeah. But I always, my preference always pick the latest version. It's. Yeah, so far I haven't encountered the same issue as yours.
Okay, well maybe they've changed that. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Okay, so now let's pivot to research. I know we've talked about research, but this is a different kind of research. Let's assume we're doing internet research. Let's explore the kind of tools that we might use to help us do that. And maybe talk about some specific kinds of research that we're talking about here.
Yeah, so for research, I would say there are few types of research, like everyday research, just get quick answers, or maybe a more in-depth research. And then also maybe researching from your closest knowledge base. So I think nowadays I use different types of tools. For everyday searches, quick searches, I use Perplexity the most. For deep research, I use Gemini more. And for maybe I just want to deep dive into the sources that are chosen, just this knowledge base, and then I use NotebookLM because I think it's such a fantastic tool in so many ways. And I would say, and it all comes back to the recurring tasks that we talk about. Like, what are the most research needs for you? So, for example, Perplexity, I always think it has a good research source variety. But however, Google maybe prioritize more bigger brands, or maybe sources that have high authority. So you need to try that yourself. So sometimes maybe I just want to gather more sources. Maybe I'll prefer Perplexity. And then I will just pick the sources that I got. I select them, and then I will import them to NotebookLM. And what makes NotebookLM so useful these days is because it also just recently launched a bulk upload feature. So you can just ask Perplexity to export the list of sources for me, and then I can just paste back to NotebookLM and do the bulk import. So it's very, very handy. And so you can just combine different tools and then ask NotebookLM question.
Okay, so let's dig into this a little bit more. Let's start with Perplexity. Perplexity has been around for a while, but I think what I heard you say is use Perplexity for quick answers. Now, give us some examples of how you would use Perplexity and what kinds of quick answers, because many people listening right now might be just using ChatGPT for quick answers instead of Perplexity. So kind of explain in more detail kind of the advantage that Perplexity brings to the table.
Okay, so for example, I am planning the go-to-market for certain brands or maybe categories, maybe a e-commerce brand. And then I want to know the top competitors or top market players in this field. So I can just, this is an example of quick search. What are some top players in this field? Give the details for me so I can dig deeper, and then I will just select them. Pick them to NotebookLM. So for example, I want to enhance the messaging. And then I'll just ask Perplexity, give me the top 20, maybe 10 to 20, like top players. And then I will bulk import all the URLs to NotebookLM, and then ask NotebookLM question. Okay, so what are the content gap? What are the messaging in all these like top market players you have seen? And I ask them, in case I also want to build another new product, so how would you recommend for me to do the enhanced messaging? And the beauty of NotebookLM is the minimal level of hallucination. So it will always based on the sources that you import before it give you the answer, and nothing more. Yeah.
Okay, couple questions on Perplexity. For those who've been listening to the show for a while, understand that we're not supposed to use AI like a search engine, right? And the prompt matters. But what about Perplexity? Should we use very simple queries with Perplexity? You know, just give me the top 20 competitors, or does it make sense to give it a much larger prompt? Do you understand what I'm asking you? With Perplexity,
yes, yes. I would say if you're just doing some quick analysis, if you just wanted quick answers, you don't mind the prompt engineering. Yeah, just make
Keep
sure
it
you
simple?
get
Okay.
you get your objective so clear and you communicate in a way so clearly. But however, maybe you are doing deep research. You just want to have some focus, research focus, prioritize what kind of sources. Then you want to have some more detailed prompt. Or maybe this day, Perplexity has just launched Perplexity Labs, which is research plus building. And also there is a quota of how many credits you can use for Perplexity Labs. So
is
you
it
want
LABS Labs? Is that
Labs,
what? Okay.
Perplexity Labs.
Okay.
Yes. So that's another story. So because you have limited usage and also because it's a building, it's an agentic thing. So you want to have more detailed prompt. Maybe you give it more directions. What are the things you want it to build? Or maybe you're using the deep research mode. What are the sources you want to prioritize? The research focus. And a tip from me is if you are doing deep research with Perplexity, not just getting everyday quick searches, you can actually use a reasoning model, maybe ChatGPT o3. You can just ask it to give you the research plan first before, and then you pass it to Perplexity to execute it. So this is also my favorite way of like combining.
Oh, wait. Okay. So hold on a minute. I want to make sure I got that. So I think what you said, Grace, is that you could go into ChatGPT and use one of the reasoning models like o3, which right now is one of the more advanced ones, and ask it to give you, do some of the preliminary research and then put that into Perplexity. Did I hear that right?
Yes. So you just, so you
what
can.
What would that look like? I mean, how would that result in a different prompt, if you will, in Perplexity? Because I thought you said keep it simple when you're putting prompts into Perplexity.
Yeah. So because for Perplexity, you can do the deep research, but however, if you want to make sure it is high quality, what I prefer, what you can do is if you also don't want to craft the prompt yourself, you can actually ask AI, an intelligent AI like ChatGPT o3, to craft the research, the prompt.
But not do the research, but just do the prompt is what you're saying. Is that?
Yes, the prompt. So I'll put the research plan in a prompt format. So I can pass it back to Perplexity, because what I found is Perplexity, of course, you can give it more detailed prompt, but nowadays AI is become more advanced. It is better in crafting the prompts. I can definitely see this trend. So you can just ask it to give you the version and then you fine tune it. So it will give you more structured prompt, like the research focus, sources, like how you should approach this research. Besides, you just let Perplexity to do them themselves. So I would say this is a way to improve the quality from the research.
Okay. Couple questions about Perplexity, then I want to come back to this deep research stuff. Are you using a free version of Perplexity or a paid version of Perplexity in this research?
Paid version. Yeah.
What's the advantage to the paid version?
So for the paid version, you have unlimited quick searches. And then also for deep research, you also have unlimited deep research. And then for Perplexity Labs, it is capped at around 50 search usage per month. But however, for the free version is much more limited. Maybe I remember it's like 5 to 10 free searches per day. I'm not sure, but there is a usage limit basically. Yeah.
And how much does it cost? Because a lot of people are using the free version of Perplexity. Do you know approximately what you pay for Perplexity?
$20 per month.
Okay. And does the paid version allow you to select which model you're going to? Because doesn't Perplexity offer different models? Like, doesn't it allow you to run through the API, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, or is that not true with Perplexity?
So Perplexity, it allows you to change the model. It has the features allow you to generate your own API key, but however, it doesn't give you options to use your own maybe API key from Claude. It doesn't work this way.
Okay.
But however, it has just think of it like an AI wrapper. It just have like a middleman,
Yep.
and then it can connect to different models. Okay, which model is your favorite, and then you can just pick it through the interface.
When you're doing research in Perplexity and you want to grab those 20 recommendations, is there an easy way to get those other than opening 20 tabs and copying them all? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Are you saying
like when you're doing Perplexity quick answers, right? And you want to get like, who are the top competitors in this industry? How do you get all that over to Gemini for the deep research? Do you have to like have each URL copied into Gemini? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Okay. So what I usually do is I will export it to a markdown file.
Okay.
And then I can open it, and then I can just, so from the exported file, there is a citation format.
Okay.
Yeah, because Perplexity, we include that in the exported file. So whatever format you choose, maybe Markdown, maybe a Google Doc, maybe PDF. And then what I would do is I will do a little reformatting. I would just ask maybe ChatGPT or Gemini, okay, help me to remove the number, so I can just directly and paste it back to NotebookLM.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So deep research. As of today, pretty much everybody offers deep research. Claude has it. Grok has it. They call it deep search. ChatGPT has it. Gemini has it. Why do you like Gemini over the others? Even ChatGPT has it. So what's your thoughts on why Gemini for deep research?
So first thing is Google is the best doing search, right? Although it's now pivoting like from the traditional search to search, but like this is what Google's do the best is always search. It has a large database, and also it has like not just website but also from YouTube. So I always think that so like what I mentioned, you can try the same prompt using both ChatGPT research or Gemini, and I always find Gemini can find much more sources. Right. Way more, like on average, maybe a few hundred, like sometimes even over 500 websites. And it's crazy.
But it is also, it generates a massively big file though. I mean, right, like this is the difference, right? Like I found with ChatGPT's deep research, the answer is a little bit more precise, where with Google, it's like a monster document that I have to page through, right? Is that good or is that bad? I mean, I guess it depends on the application, right?
Yes, it depends on the application. And other thing is, I would say Gemini will give you a more overviews for some, maybe you are not familiar with some new topics in AI or new subjects. So Gemini deep research is so good. And I would say it's more generous in terms of the usage limits. So actually it has a usage limits, but however, it doesn't officially say how many deep research you can run per month. But however, on ChatGPT, because I'm on a pro plan, I'm on the plus plan. I'm not on the pro plan. Yeah. So that's why, you have to be very cautious about the usage, but on Gemini, there's no such thing. And also, I would say also, depends on your tasks. Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned for internal research, NotebookLM. So explain that application so people can process that a little bit, because I think we mentioned it, but maybe very briefly. What do we mean by internal research, and what is it about NotebookLM in this case that makes it different than the other stuff we've been talking about?
So first of all, NotebookLM is a Google product. It's powered by Gemini, so that's why it also has a big context window. You can upload 300 sources if you are using the NotebookLM Plus version. So you can just upload so many sources to it. And the beauty is it will only it will give you the response based on the sources you import and nothing more. And so the hallucination can be minimized. And so one way is so for example, nowadays, Google is doing emphasizing more AI search. So one way you can just ask it to discover the source. This is also a new feature from NotebookLM, because in the past, NotebookLM, you cannot use it to find sources. You have to import them one by one yourself. But nowadays, it has the discover source. So that's why you can just describe the topic and then it will find the source for you. And the beauty is because it's powered by Google. So it somehow also leverage Google's ranking or how Google prioritize the websites. So you can kind of reverse engineer how Google thinks what are the quality websites. So for example, if I want to reverse engineer the ranking for maybe a project management tool, like what is the best project management tool? And then I submit the query in NotebookLM, and then it will feedback the 10 top sources for you. So why these 10 sources is because Google think that they're high quality, right? They have.
So those sources are articles written by somebody else, presumably, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So it will come up the sources. So it's just like the ranking in the Google traditional search result page, but however, now translated to NotebookLM and AI tool. And then I can just import it. Okay, these are the 10 sources I upload to NotebookLM, import it, and then I can reverse engineer. So tell me, what are all those sub-queries I should write content about so that I have a higher chance to rank higher, to make sure I cover all the search intent for user. Because nowadays we all know that it's no longer just matching keywords, right? It's more about matching the potential topics a user asks about in that subject. So you want to cover that as much as possible so that you can cover the whole user journey and not just matching keywords. And this is exactly NotebookLM can help you do. And I always think NotebookLM is a secret SEO tool because it will give you a lot of insight how you can plan the content by just import what is working in the eyes of Google. So
wow, Grace, this has been really interesting, and hopefully people have a lot of new perspectives on how they can use different tools to accomplish different things as part of a workflow or a process that they need to do for their work. Now, Grace, if people want to connect with you on the socials, where do you want to send them? And if they maybe want to work with you, where should they go?
So they can follow me on my YouTube channel. I share AI and about digital marketing. And if they want to work with me, they can submit a form. There's a contact form on my website, graceleung.com. Or if they also they can also just find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, send me a DM. That might be even faster. So that's how people can find me. And also on X. Yeah.
Awesome. And folks, Grace spells her last name Leung. Grace, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your insights with us today.
Thank you so much for having me today. That's a great chat. Thanks. Thanks, Michael.